skill-based matchmaking isn't bad. Call of Duty's skill-based matchmaking is. I love first-person shooters. These games are some of the earliest experiences I had in online games as a whole, but as of late, a lot of discourse has surfaced surrounding skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM for short. Now, the history of SBMM in modern online FPSs starts with Halo 2. That game pioneered the system of matchmaking we know now. All you do is log in, queue up, and play. Very simple, very straightforward. The reason why is because Halo 2 used a system to matchmake players based on the ELO system, which is how chess does it. It was invented by this guy called Arpad Elo back in the 20th century, basically in order to matchmake people based on their current skill level, right? It calculates it and it matchmakes them based on that. Now, in theory, it makes perfect sense, and in online video games, it worked well for about 15 or so years. But everything changed back when Modern Warfare 2019 first released. Now, Call of Duty, following in the footsteps of Halo, used a skill-based matchmaking system since, as far as I can personally tell, Call of Duty 4 back in 2007. COD 4 is considered by most people to be the true start of the franchise as we know it today anyway, so I don't have a problem in making that assertion. As far as the discourse is concerned, there weren't any major issues with the matchmaking system outside of lag, which, if you've ever played Call of Duty before, is pretty typical, considering most people back when the series was really poppin' back in like 2007, from then to 2012, were playing on consoles with wireless connections, and since then, Wi-Fi infrastructure has improved drastically. If the objective of Call of Duty matchmaking is to match you up against people with a similar skill level, meaning everyone has around a 1 or so kill-death ratio, then the newer Call of Duties should theoretically be working perfectly fine. But they aren't. Now, we as COD players understand that our KD ratio and score per minute are our highest variables that influence the in-game matchmaking rating system, right? So theoretically, the higher your KD and SPM, the better players you'll be playing against, right? And again, in most other online games, be they MOBAs or fighting games, it works perfectly fine, usually with a 1 to 2 skill bracket difference between you and any player you queue with. The reason why Call of Duty skill-based matchmaking gets blamed is not actually the fault of the skill-based matchmaking in my opinion, but is instead the fault of the map design as well as general game balancing, right? Though I will admit, I do have some personal issues with how the game matchmakes, and we're actually going to get to those very soon. But for my money, the issue lies primarily with the map design. What do I mean by this? I'm referring, of course, to what Infinity Ward calls Sentinel gameplay, in air quotes. That term is just a more politically correct term for camping, which we all know to be sitting in a small spot or very small area for an extended period of time, racking up kills, and being a general nuisance to most Call of Duty players who, like me, are rushers, who just want to sprint, fire, and move on. That's how most arcade shooters are designed to be played anyway. From my perspective, the maps designed for specifically the rebooted Modern Warfare series, that being the 2019 version and the recently released Modern Warfare 2, suffer the most from this camping-heavy design. Infinity Ward has stated that they want to create maps that cater to every type of player, and in my eyes, that's a noble idea, but that's only a noble idea on paper. In reality, it leads to an overabundance of sightlines and power positions that can be abused and ruin the flow of maps and especially matches. I'm looking specifically at maps like Turok and Farm 18 on TDM. I've had games end with the winning team only scoring 67 to 75 kills because the enemy team has next to no rushers and is instead full of people who are just camping at the back. Adding on to that, you have an overabundance of equipment and field upgrades that favor camping. You have trophy systems that destroy grenades that are meant to kill people who are hiding and flush people out, portable radars that show enemies in a very close distance, flashbangs that last way too long even if you're using battle hardened, riot shields that when on your back cover up your entire hitbox save for your feet, and when you have them equipped and you're crouching, basically make you invulnerable from the front, where people are most likely to shoot you. You also have footsteps that are way too loud, and there's so much more that I could list, but we would be here forever. This, for most players, creates what essentially amounts to negative progression, right? You know how most people say you don't get the feeling that you're progressing with SBMM? It's specifically Call of Duty where this happens, because if you do well, you go up against players who have higher stats, which is supposed to be the point. But those stats aren't guaranteed to be from rushing and playing the objective, and can instead be from simply sitting in a corner with your Lockwood 300, riot shield, various pieces of equipment, and expensive headphones that ensure that you get that precious 2.0 KD. It doesn't help that Dead Silence is also no longer a permanent perk, but is instead a temporary field upgrade that is lost when you die and is only acquired through achieving certain kill/score thresholds. With all of that being said, what it amounts to is Activision essentially incentivizing you to play the game in an admittedly infuriating but intensely effective way to satisfy your inner monkey brain, right? Why is that? It's to get you to buy the $70 base game if you haven't already, and if you have, or if you're just playing regular Warzone, you can spend your money at the in-game item shops so that they can keep racking up microtransaction dollars. Oh yeah, baby, let's make some motherfucking money! Capitalism doing what it usually does aside, many solutions to the SBMM issue have been proposed, primarily introducing different ranked and casual playlists. Yet again, from my perspective, that's an idea that only works on paper and isn't entirely practical for Call of Duty, given that its progression system has always been tied to your rank, which every player has and is increased by playing multiplayer, thus unlocking new guns, perks, equipment, streak rewards, and more. And in my experience, casual play modes and FPSs see way higher play counts. Not everybody wants to play ranked for a variety of reasons. Sometimes there are certain restrictions on your available tools in order to make the game competitively viable. Sometimes you don't want to play with the pressure of your rank increasing or decreasing. Sometimes your friends are way higher ranked than you and you don't feel like grinding to get up there, etc., ad nauseum. This essentially means that if said mode was introduced and nothing else, there's no guarantee that players will play ranked and won't instead just stay in casual lobbies. SBMM would theoretically need to exist in that environment, albeit very toned down, in order to account for major disparities in player skill. And on top of that, Call of Duty already has a ranked competitive mode called Call of Duty League, or CDL, or League Play for short, and I'll admit I've never played it, but I'd wager that far less people play it compared to simply matchmaking regularly for the reasons I listed above. And also, people don't want to get completely stomped by playing with their friends who are higher skill levels than them. So what do? How do we fix the issues with SBMM and COD? I have a solution that should please all parties involved and leave everyone's ego intact. Separate progression systems. And by that, I don't just mean introducing ranks based on your fucking gold or diamond or whatever. I mean entirely separate progression trees. This could very well be a thing, but again, I don't play CDL. So how does it work? Well, in my hypothetical reality, Infinity Ward could keep making shitty maps and shitty games for all I care, right? Players would have a GPR, or General Player Ranking, represented by the Classic Ranking and Prestige system, and an LPR, or League Play Ranking, represented by their tier and rank within. So think something like Diamond 2, Gold 3, so on and so forth. Playing in casual playlists would only increase your GPR, which gives you your classic unlocks, your guns, your attachments, your equipment and streaks and whatever. And playing in ranked would increase both your GPR and your LPR, meaning that the only stat that's guaranteed to increase after a ranked game is your GPR. From there, in a casual queue, you would have full control over what stats, if any at all, are displayed to your teammates and opponents. You'd know that everyone in your lobby is around your skill level, but if you don't want your name, rank, KD, etc. displayed, they couldn't see it, and couldn't see it on your showcase unless you wanted to show them. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown did a fantastic sort of version of this, where when you queue up for ranked, you can showcase your name, rank, and a specific stat of your choosing, right? You can show either your matches played, wins, win ratio, wins, losses, and win ratio all at once, results of your last 10 matches, or simply
nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Stupid sexy Flanders.
I think this system, obviously in combination with a bunch of different changes, such as a total design overhaul of the maps, the perk system, and game balance would be the best for players, devs, publishers, and content creators, right? You could turn on your streaming modes that people can't stream snipe you. The devs would still make their money. The publishers would get to make their money and let the developers make what they want. And the players would get to play a shooter with infinitely less stress attached and far less toxic discourse. Because remember, SBMM is not the biggest issue, it's just the design of the game itself. That's why the older Call of Duties were so much better to us. It's not just nostalgia. The games have gotten worse. So, what do you think of what I've had to say? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you as always for watching. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a great rest of your day.